We are going to use the property that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees to solve for the missing angles in each of these triangles. Make sure you set up each of these with equations. So for example, in this first one, those three angles add up to equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to write 68 degrees plus x plus 2 plus 90 degrees equals 180 degrees. Now notice I didn't actually include the degree symbols, but I will when I'm done. So the next thing I'm going to do is add my like terms. So we're going to add the 68 and the 2 to get 70 plus 90 is 160. So x plus 160 equals 180. Now I'm going to subtract 160 or add negative 160 to both sides, whichever way you prefer. And I end up with x equals 20. Now this is not actually one of the angles because none of the angles is x. I'm just going to plug that into my x. And that gives me 22 degrees for the missing angle. To check my work, I'm going to add everything up and it should equal 180. So 22 plus 68 plus 90 should equal 180. And I get 90 plus 90 equals 180, so I know I did this correctly. So let's move on to the next problem. Give that one a shot and see how you do. So I ended up with x equaling 13, and when I plug in x equaling 13 into 2x plus 4, I get 30 degrees. And then you can see my check steps, and that did work out. Now let's move on to the next ones. So try this third problem. So I solved this equation by adding up all of the three angles, and I end up with x equals 9. Then I plugged in my answer, x equals 9, in the place of the x in 11x minus 3 and ended up with 96 degrees for that angle. Then I did my check step and ended up proving that those three angles added together do indeed equal 180 degrees. So let's go to the next page. On this next problem, I'm going to read it with you and help you to highlight the important information. First of all, it says in an obtuse triangle. Keep in mind an obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle and two acute angles. So in an obtuse triangle, one of the acute angles is 6 less than 4 times the other. So we're going to let one of the angles be x, and one of the angles is going to be 6 less than 4 times that one, or 4 times x, okay? If the obtuse angle is 98 degrees, so they're telling us the measure of one angle and then giving us an algebraic expression for the other two angles. Find the measure of the two acute angles. So make sure you find the measure of both of those angles. So we can set up a diagram a couple of different ways. I'm going to set up one here, and then I'll show you how you can set it up a couple different ways. But my obtuse angle, they told me, is 98 degrees. One of my acute angles is x. I'm going to put x degrees. The other one is going to be 4x minus 6 degrees. Okay, so now that you have this idea, go ahead and solve an equation where you set up all of these angles adding together to equal 180. You solve for x, and then you plug x back into our two angles that we're trying to figure out here, x and 4x minus 6. So try that and then check that. So I end up with 17.6 for x, which means that x is 17.6 degrees in my diagram. And then I plug in 17.6 into x for my expression 4x minus 6, and I end up with 64.4 degrees. And so that's how much my other angle is going to be, is 64.4 degrees. And now to ensure that I have the right answers, I do my check step, And when I add up those three angles, I do indeed get 180